Okay, let's go over some of the things that people would say to try to debunk some of these claims. And let's go over specifically the Van Allen radiation belts. So what is the explanation, the official explanation as to how the astronauts were able to get through the Van Allen radiation belt safely? Because I know that people have disputed this, and it is something that people talk about all the time because it's the number one thing that people say.
Well, they're contradicting themselves because we just showed Kelly Smith, who said the field of radiation is dangerous, that we need to develop shielding before we send people through this region of space. So the shielding to send people through it so they don't die has not been invented as of 2014.
You also could have meant the shielding for the instruments so they don't.
No, he said people.
No.
We must develop this technology before we send people through this region
I was
of
agreeing with
space.
that, but so the instruments don't break so that the ship doesn't
Well,
die,
that too.
which will then harm the people.
Right, but that was what we were talking about earlier.
But
we were talking about the instrumentation.
regardless, he says the technology to do that has not been invented yet.
No, we found that out that in the full quote he said that they had it.
No,
for the
no, he
equipment.
says we must first solve these challenges before we send people through this region of space. So the challenges have not been solved as of 2014.
Right,
So
but
how could they have been solved in 1969?
Well, the idea is that they did solve them, and then that technology was lost, and they have to recreate it, and they haven't done that yet.
Really, they
that's
invented the
explanation.
automobile and threw it in the ocean, and now they're having to reinvent the automobile.
I'm just, like I said, I'm just devil's advocate.
Yeah, but the point is that doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make a lot of sense.
No.
No, it doesn't make a lot of sense that they
So
destroyed the
you
information.
said you were going to share your opinion about what you think about it. What do you think?
Well, there's no way I know, right? We're all speculating. There's no way I know. But all this shit looks very suspicious. Like, mostly suspicious. Like, not a lot of it makes sense. Just logically, if you look at the timeline between 1969 and 2024 and the amount of progress that has taken place in actual outside of Earth's orbit space travel, it's non-existent by human beings. Another question is, did they ever manage to get anything alive through the Van Allen radiation belts and have it come back to Earth before they tried it out with people? Did they do it with a monkey? Did they do it with a chicken? Did they send anything into space and have it come back alive?
Not officially. They may have done it unofficially and not reported it
Just to
because
see.
the outcome was not good.
Right. When they did Operation Starfish Prime and they blew that thing up, didn't it make the Van Allen radiation belts worse in that spot?
That's what I heard, that it added to the radiation there.
Here it says, some people believe that the Apollo moon missions were a hoax because astronauts would have been instantly killed in the radiation belts. According to the U.S. Occupational Safety and Health Agency, OSHA, a lethal radiation dosage is 300 rads in 1 hour. What is your answer to the moon landing hoax believers? Okay. Total dosage for the trip is only 16 rad in 68.1 minutes because 68.1 minutes is equal to 1.13 hours. His is equal to a dosage of 16 rad in 1.13 hours equals 14 rad in 1 hour, which is below the 300 rads in 1 hour that is considered to be lethal. Also, this radiation exposure would be for an astronaut outside the spacecraft during the transit through the belts. The radiation shielding inside the spacecraft cuts down the 14 rads per hour exposure so that it's completely harmless.
Well, I have a clip at Sibrel.com where they talk about, it's a show from the 1950s where they set up probes with Geiger counters, and they say it's 100 times the lethal dose. It broke the Geiger counter because it vibrated so much.
So where are they getting...
Again, these numbers of the amount of radiation in the Van Allen radiation belts are from the people who faked the moon landing. Mm-hmm. So what kind of proof is that?
So this is their saying that the total dosage for the trip was only 16 rad.
That's correct.
Okay.
How do we know that? Because the people who faked the moon landing said so?
What is the source of this?
NASA. What? I'd find another source if you'd like of what the
Yeah.
Van Allen radiation.
Yeah,
belts-
but
Yeah, let's do that. Let's find out a source.
That's how would you?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Because no one else has been there besides-
Why don't you Google how lethal are the Van Allen radiation belts?
There's a
That's how I
clip.
got to this.
There's a clip from
I
my
don't know
book.
Try another one. Try another article.
I'm just saying I don't know what I'm supposed to be looking for
The
because
deadly Van Allen belts?
NASA is the only one that's been there, really, right?
Right.
There's a clip from my book at Sibrel.com that has a scientist showing the radiation levels and talking about how it's a barrier between deep space travel. He says so.
What is causing that radiation?
Well, this magnetic field of the Earth causes this magnetic area which collects over however old the Earth is, all those years, radiation that goes nowhere. So it keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. It also shields us from cosmic and solar and galactic radiation and from people not getting cancer. So you have to have it to have life on Earth, but paradoxically, it also prevents you from leaving the Earth.
So it says the numbers along the horizontal axis give the distance from Earth in multiples of the Earth's radius. The inner Van Allen belt is located at about 1.6 RE. The outer Van Allen belt is located at about 4.0. The distance of 2.2, there's a gap region between these belts. Satellites such as the Global Positioning System orbit in this gap region where the radiation effects are minimum. So there's a gap in between the two belts, and says the International Space Station and Space Shuttle on this scale orbit very near the edge of the blue Earth disk in the figure, so are well below the Van Allen radiation belts. So most of the space stations, space shuttle travel, all that stuff is in that area.
Well, it's below. They're at 250 miles. The radiation begins at 1,000 miles.
Right.
I think in 1996, the space shuttle went up to 365 miles, one of its highest altitudes. CNN reported this word for word. The radiation belt surrounding the Earth is more dangerous than previously believed. So how is it that astronauts 600 miles away from it know more about it than astronauts that allegedly went through it to the moon and back? You see that? That's not possible. We have article after article that says that the radiation belts are an obstacle to going to the moon. We have George Bush Jr. saying we're going to return to the moon in 10 years. Of course, he said that 20 years ago. And he says, but first, we need to learn how to protect the astronauts from radiation. Why not do it the way that worked so well on the Apollo missions?
So what kind of protection how thick was the aluminum shielding?
1/8 of an inch.
1/8 of an inch. And was there anything, a coating on the inside of it that protected them further?
No, just 1/8 of an inch of aluminum.
And how much protection would 1/8 of inch of aluminum provide?
Well, half as much as a dental X-ray, lead vest, or less than that.
But they would experience much more radiation than that.
That's right.